Tigard first. Like Oswego first and Tigard
Who's
first.
going to call the roll?
Yeah, they handed out. We got one of these.
Joel, who calls the roll and all that stuff?
You'll ask Moret to call roll.
Okay. Here.
Here.
He's not here. I think he's excused today.
Spring break.
Here.
Okay, the first item of business is the approval of the minutes from last meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes of the February 2nd meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Question or comment on
Yeah,
the minutes, if
yeah.
I may. Since we have quite a long span between meetings at this point, and because I know I get questions that are addressed in the minutes, I know this is an unusual request, but I'm wondering if, because our minutes are normally really quite well done, if they could be posted as a draft so that the public could see them in the interim. For example, I've gotten a number of questions on things that were addressed in that last set of minutes, and it would have been helpful to, send the link.
Yeah, that's a
To
good
those
idea.
folks.
Is that doable?
I don't see why not.
Okay,
We
great.
can post these as soon as they're in draft form to our website.
How
Yeah.
long, was that a couple, 3 weeks?
No, I wouldn't think it'd be that long. I think a couple of weeks we should be able to commit to
Okay.
that schedule.
Great, let's do it.
And I think we need to be really attentive to what's on the web, because there was the wrong place shown
right.
for the, and that's probably just a function of not checking it frequently enough. So if we could do that, I don't know who I'm talking to, I don't know who's responsible for that, but if we could do that or designate to the person who's responsible, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item after approval of minutes is public comment. Is there anybody here from the members of the public that want to make some comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed on. The old business is post-construction home inspections. Can you tell us what we're talking about there?
Yes, Mayor Studebaker. So this was a comment made by Councilor Bowerman at the last meeting. It's reflected on page 4 of your meeting summary. At that point, or at that time, we stated that 8 out of 33 properties that we offered free pre-construction inspections took us up on our offer and had those pre-construction inspections performed. The question was whether or not there was benefit in performing a post-construction inspection. I spoke with our risk management group today, our risk managers and our insurance advisors, asking them for their thoughts on that. And the response that I got was that happens automatically if a claim is filed. So that inspect is part of the adjudication of that claim, whether it's a claim against us or a claim against one of our contractors. Their insurance adjusters visit the site, make their own inspections. We provide them the report of the pre-construction inspection so that they have that as a baseline, and then can determine whether or not there's been any change in conditions of the house. Now, of course, that doesn't answer the question, why? Why is it different? It could be something related to our project. It could be something unrelated to our project. We don't know. But their consensus was, for the cost, it doesn't provide you anything different than what you'd already do as a result of a claim being filed. And keep in mind that we've got another project coming up, at least in Westland, on the Mapleton side of the plant related to pipeline construction, and then of course the ongoing water treatment plant construction for the next year and a half. So it didn't make sense to us to spend that money, go through that effort. It wouldn't provide much in the way of value. So our recommendation is that we don't perform those post-construction inspections on those 8 homes that to the extent that a claim is filed, those inspections would occur anyway.
Okay.
So have those 8 filed already?
No.
No. So
I think there's been one claim from one of the 8 properties that availed themselves of the pre-construction inspection.
Okay, so just to understand how this works, if a homeowner wishes to have an inspection that would be done by the project, they would then need to first file a grievance,
A claim.
a claim.
Mhm.
And that would presume that they've already had personally an inspection done, right?
It certainly helps helps them argue their claim if they've had a pre-construction inspection.
Yeah.
It doesn't prevent anybody else from filing a claim who didn't.
Therefore, I feel like the approach that we're taking is not one to help the homeowner, but to defend the project, in that it's done only when there is already a claim that the homeowner has found to be justified. So I just want to bring that up because I'm not sure that that's the best approach for the project to take.
What would you suggest?
I would like to see something where we are more assertively assisting the properties where you feel that there may have been damage caused by the project, and I think that would be fairly clear, wouldn't it?
You've sent out notices to people that inspections are available.
Correct.
And there's only 8. Now, have you sent them out after construction has occurred or during construction? Have you sent out notices that they can get inspections if they want them?
No, not after that initial
Okay.
invitation went out. That was again,
Okay.
a pre-construction survey, so.
Okay. Do you have, in my reading of the various correspondence that's come out, there have been some people who have had some complaints about vibration and that kind of stuff. Did you offer them inspections?
They would have been, some of those same people would have been people that we offered pre-construction inspections to.
If somebody files if they're bothered by the vibration and stuff, if they haven't already filed an inspection, do you offer them one?
No.
He offers it only when they've filed.
No, he
No.
offered.
We
They offered
invite them first.
pre-construction.
Right, but now we're talking post,
Yeah.
correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
This is more mid.
Okay, mid.
Yeah, this is definitely mid.
this is mid. Is it, would it be a big burden to offer people an inspection if they are complaining about vibration and that stuff, if they haven't already had an inspection?
Well, we can certainly offer the inspections. It's meant to be a way for them to more easily prove damage related to
Yeah,
construction.
I understand.
They
I
can
understand.
file a claim at any time whether they've had an inspection or not.
I think it's hard, if somebody wants to ask for one, I don't see a problem, but if you ask for a mid-inspection, it's hard because there's no baseline.
Well,
And
that's
so-
right.
Constantly
I know,
changing.
I hear what you're saying.
And so your point about, my point last time of even bringing it up was that it gives us an ending baseline. I wouldn't suggest doing it now, but maybe, at the end, we might look at doing it so we have some protection. I don't think doing it now is a good idea for a mid one because that doesn't give us any baseline to protect ourselves. So the only time I was trying to protect us was at the end. So,
Correct. That would provide us some level of protection against a post-construction claim that would be
correct,
filed
because some other
asserting
construction could happen around or
who knows what it could be.
unknown act of God that happens, and they could say it happened to this. So I would like to close those 8 off and say, okay, we know what those 8 are. All the others we won't know because they didn't have a baseline to start with. But I don't think the cost of those 8 at the end would, I think that's a good insurance just on my part, even though the insurance and everybody else says no, but they also, I think, are saying no to now
They were saying,
versus later.
They were saying not recommending it now.
Okay,
mid-
and I agree with that
rather than
point.
at the end.
Well, let me, just to follow up to the last little detail, is there going to be much work, do you anticipate, around the Westland water treatment plant that will entail vibration and that kind of stuff? Is there going to be much coming up?
I expect so,
Yep.
yes. We still have a lot of earthwork to do. We've got the clear well still that isn't completely buried. We have to backfill that. It's
Well,
that.
Joel, what I might suggest, John, I'd like to hear from you too on this. If there's going to be more on it, maybe we can offer put out a notice again. If there's gonna be more vibration, if you're concerned that you're gonna have some damage, have an inspection now, so that people, at least, at this point, they can establish a base level now for something later. Does that make sense?
Well, it's certainly doable, certainly
Yeah.
something we could.
What do you think?
I think it's always good to get a baseline level, because I know my house settles and cracks on its own over the years, so I don't want to be paying a claim on something that happens by itself, but if we, caused it to occur, then I think we're liable for that.
I think it's a good idea to offer them an inspection now, just with the idea that there's more vibration anticipated, and at least they can make a baseline. What do you think? Would that
I
satisfy you?
certainly agree, because I think that's less emphasis on protecting the project and more on service to those who maybe have been impacted by the project, and that's an important thing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think we would do it to the 8, because we've already have a baseline, so
No, I
I would
agree.
think of the rest of them.
So you may not have that many people anyway.
Right, they might
may.
turn
Yeah.
it down.
Turn out that it's zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the offer,
Mhm.
and that'll be communicated how?
I assume by a letter, wouldn't it?
Yes, that's how we did it before.
Individually to the homeowners.
Yeah.
Great, I like that.
Okay.
Okay, new business. Anything more on this item here, item 4, the old business? Anything more on that? Okay. New business, Highway 43 construction. Give us some
Yes,
information.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to suggest that we skip those first 2 items
Okay.
because they're going to be covered in the metrics report. I don't see any reason to duplicate that.
Okay?
Okay.
So if you don't mind, we'll jump to 5.3, and again, that's information only. I think you're aware that a resident in West Lynn on the south side of the water treatment plant has hired an attorney and has asked that attorney to represent her and perhaps others in the neighborhood with a request for revocation of the conditional use permits for the water plant and the pipeline project. So I don't have a lot more to add on that. We'll see where that goes. I don't know to what extent there's been consideration of that request by the Westland Council at present. I expect there will be as a result of the letter, but it's more just to make you aware of that,
Okay.
that action that was taken by a private property owner.
Has anything been filed by them at this point? Do we know?
File like
No.
No lawsuits or
no lawsuits or
Okay.
anything like that.
I would suggest a possible executive session to discuss this issue at a later date when we have a little more information. And Counselor Snyder's back in town.
Well, then I will poll the committee here as to some dates for that session, and we'll get that set up.
So the potential sale of West End building, are you looking at that in terms of office space for staff?
Yeah, that particular item I just wanted to call attention to for your benefit. Of course, Councilor Bowerman and Mayor, you know that. But there's going to be some impacts related to that, assuming that the sale, the transaction goes through. And of course, I don't have any details about when that might happen or if it'll happen. But just to point out that we are housing city staff there, our project team. We're housing Brad Caldwell. We have in the bidding documents at time of bidding for Schedule 5 pipeline construction projects, made that building space available to the contractor. So when, for example, when we did the Lake Oswego Interceptor Sewer, there's an office space down on the first floor, and provided that to the contractor basically free of charge for their use. And there's definitely benefits and efficiencies that accrue from having the contractor and designers and engineers and construction managers all housed in the same building. So we told them in the bidding documents that would be available for their use. Now, I can't tell you today if there will be any additional cost impacts if we say, okay, we've sold the building, you got to move and go somewhere else. I don't know, but I'm just bringing that to your attention. They're also using a fairly good area of the parking lots for temporary storage of materials and equipment, and of course they're parking their crew trucks and you know, other construction-related vehicles there. So at some point in the future, if the transaction goes through and we're moving, then there's going to be that disruption related to the move, but also potentially some cost impact for having to find new quarters or find new storage areas or wherever those might be. But again, it's just bringing that to your attention.
How many employees and how many VNC folks are there?
Oh, I think it varies, you know, kind of goes up and down, maybe a half a dozen to a dozen people in terms of VNC and designers, and probably a half a dozen contractor types in the construction office downstairs.
Who are employees?
No, they're.
And how many employees are there?
Well, employees would be 6, myself and the rest of my staff. So again, just bringing that to your attention.
I think in most of our sale documents, we set aside a place to raise a big tent.
Good.
Does that
Does
sound
that
good?
beat?
As long as you kept the parking lot for the
Yeah,
storage.
You know, does that sound like a winner to you?
Sure.
In the summer, it'd be just fine.
In the summer, it'd be just fine.
Okay.
Right next to the produce stand.
Okay, Mike, are you going to give us a metrics report?
Yeah, we can do a quick walkthrough. There's nothing too different than the last meeting, which I don't believe I was at, but we can. I turn that one over to John. But if we start on the main page, you know, it's just the title page and the table of contents. Nothing obviously to report there, or the map. So I think the cumulative graph is probably the first place we want to start. And we're up to, at the time of this report, roughly $162 million spent, which represents about 64% of our overall baseline. We're still tracking according to plan. You know, any extensions or delays aside, that will be tracked separately and reported separately at the time. There's no flipping to the next page. The schedule, you know, as we can see, the orange showed the tentative treatment plant time extension. I believe that was shown in the last report. So other than the gray line starting to move through February, everything else there is the same as last time. For the current total estimate, the main thing to point out here is that we've identified a few $100,000 worth of construction changes, mostly on pipelines. They're all tentative at this point, but as we've done in the past, we capture them here, and if they go through and get executed, then they'll come off of the contingency line item in item 3. If they don't fall through, that contingency line item will go back up to where it was last time, which was a few $100,000 more. In short, we still have roughly $2 million in sponsor contingency, not a whole lot different than last time, and still roughly $6 million in our overall contingency. So things haven't really moved a whole lot since our last go-around. And another important note is it's March already, so we'd be rebaselining everything on July 1, which is a few months away. So you know, our baseline's coming up on a year old, and we're tracking pretty close to where we were a year ago.
Mike, just tell us that we're still within budget on everything?
Yeah, if the baseline's 254 and we still have $2 million in sponsor contingency, absolutely, we're under where our baseline is, or tracking to be under right now.
We spent about 64%, I think you said, of
the 254.
On the other 36%, are we pretty comfortable with the estimates on those?
So any large changes aside, or anything like that, or currently any impacts from potential plant delays are not included in here until they get hashed out.
Okay.
But according to our original plan, yeah, we're comfortable with where that's going.
Okay.
Yeah, I might just add, tag on to what Mike said. As I was thinking about that very question today, I was thinking, well, what do we have left to do? We've still got probably close to 50% of the water treatment plant contract to complete, and I estimated maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of $9 to $10 million worth of pipeline construction contracts to finish up. So, you know, maybe $40 million worth of work to complete. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the things you'd always emphasize to us was, oh, if there's a delay that you all cause, i.e. City Council, it's going to mean a lot of increased cost for this project. Well, there is a delay, not brought on by City Council, but otherwise. So I'm I'm focusing on really the same thing. Where is that increased cost going to lie relative to the contingency that's there? It just seems like if it's still, is it a total of 11 months at this point?
No.
9.
What is it now?
It's been 9 for,
It's 9, okay.
Last
With
couple months.
9 months, is that going to come out to be covered by the contingency?
well, to the extent that there is no other source of revenue to cover those costs, whether they be our cost or contractor cost, i.e. in the form of liquidated damages, then yes, it would come out of that construction contingency to the extent it was available.
Right. But is that sufficient at this point? Is that your,
I think we reported to you last time that we estimated our extended cost to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2 million.
So since you've got $2.5 million in contingency reserves, that could arguably cover that.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
There's currently 6 remaining, but we still
I'm
have
sorry.
$60 million worth of work left.
Okay.
So some of that will certainly go,
Okay.
just by the nature of construction, to that.
All right.
But the way we're tracking, I would say there's certainly a possibility that there would be some of that money left, or all. It just depends on how the rest of these projects go, that we don't hit a big snag in the field or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah.
Big
But
boulder.
so far, we're tracking okay, I think, on that
Mhm.
front, is a fair assumption.
we're tracking okay relative to the 9 month? So then, when is 9 months? What month?
Be March,
Early
wouldn't it?
2017.
It's what?
Yeah, early 2017.
So it'd be
So-
March, like March of
March-ish, right.
2017?
Yep, on your,
Yeah, and it's shown on the schedule. It's
It's on
the
your
orange
schedule.
bar on the schedule that's slightly beyond the red. That's when it would be.
Right.
So, the other projects have had a low enough change order rate so far that we're tracking in a decent direction. But with $60 million worth of construction left, it's always hard to say. Yeah.
That's kind of the good news side of the story is
Mhm.
that the change orders to date on the contracts let to date have been relatively small and generally speaking under industry averages for these types of complex projects.
There was while we're thinking about costs or something, there was a fellow that was badly injured recently out there. Is that, he's an employee with a contractor.
That's correct.
And so that doesn't have any impact on us?
And he's in recovery, so that's
And
good news.
Yeah.
Good.
Any anticipation? If he filed a lawsuit, granted the contractor would have to indemnify us and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But typically, there's some kind of cost
Legal.
to us. So do you any anticipation at this point whether he's going to be doing something like that? Okay. All right. Thank you. And he is recovering.
Yes.
Good. Good.
next page.
Okay. The next page is just an exploded version of the previous page, and we email out an Excel version so folks can look at numbers more closely. Most of that covers what we just talked about. I think 4.5 is a note. There's usually a graph here, but we've bid all the projects, so the designer cost estimate contingency has now been officially sunsetted after however many reports we put out. And then permit status, there's no change there from what there was last time regarding the remand with ORWD.
Okay.
Next few pages are itemized lists of.
Just a quick
Sure.
question on that.
Yep.
What is your timetable now for anticipating resolution one way or another?
I would turn that over to Joel so we
We don't
close
have
with
a
that. Yeah.
timetable yet. And I'm not going to speculate on what that timetable would be. I would be wrong. Whatever I say, I'm sure I'd be wrong. So all I can say right now is that we're working with the agencies. This is the agency's responsibility and obligation to respond to the remand, not ours, but we're working closely with them, but we have to let them do their job. So we'll report to you when we have something to report, but right now we just don't have anything to report.
Okay, the next two pages
But the
are.
problem basically is getting the staff to feel the same kind of urgency to get it resolved that we do, isn't that right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Next two pages are just detail on designer and construction changes that we've already discussed. Most of the designer changes we had earmarked or anticipated, so they didn't really hit the bottom line. The construction changes, as we talked about, come out of contingency. No real updates to the risk register, which would be the following page, in that the larger risks, i.e. the water rights, the treatment plant delay, are very much on our radar, and we've been keeping track of those, so there's been really no new risks added to that this time, and no real change in status on any of those at this time either. So we'll update as they come, and hopefully there'll be no additional. And the rest is construction status reports. I won't spend too much time on these, but I think it's kind of important to look at the spending graphs and the schedules on the main page. And you can see, the RIPS is mostly done, and they're going through or gone through startup, and just have to demo the existing RIPS. So that project is kind of tracking on track and moving along nicely.
That's some good news.
Absolutely,
That,
yeah.
We've started the pump station, and it's under the control of our plant operators in West Lynn. So they now have remote control of that station and are putting it through its paces as part of a second commissioning phase. The initial commissioning phase that we reported to you last meeting was under contractor control, and now this is fully under plant control. So this is an opportunity to work out bugs in the instrumentation control and communication systems, so that they have confidence that what they're seeing at the plant is what's happening at the intake.
And that process of breaking in or whatever is about a 3-month process, did I hear you say?
There's a required 3-month run-in after they complete this next commissioning phase.
And then does the water then go into the water treatment plant?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is going
It
to
is
the
going
water
to
plant
now.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of that 3 months, then the existing station gets demolished.
Yeah, next water work period.
And is the capacity for water is what is there now in the water treatment plant, the 16 million gallons per day?
Correct.
So we have to wait till the water treatment plant is
Catches
closer to
up.
being finished before you get more capacity out of that thing.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, right now, we can't have additional capacity anyway, can we?
We could if we had the
You could
pumps.
if you
in
had
it.
the pipeline and the
I
plant
thought there
ready
was
to
a
take it.
restriction.
You mean because of
With
the
the-
water?
Right,
No,
because of
no,
the
that's-
appeal.
No, because that only, from what I understand, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but that only is going to affect certain times of the year when you might have, the water might be down a little bit and they're worried about the fish survivability.
True, but those times aren't specified yet.
Yeah, but
correct?
they're not right now.
Well, they are in terms of the biological opinion that was issued by National Marine Fisheries.
But that's-
So it establishes, until these permits are extended, that becomes the rule by which we operate, the biological opinion.
It's in effect right now, that rule
Yep, it
is?
That was part of the approval.
Well, that takes us up to the full 38 million gallons, doesn't it?
Well, it looks at that eventuality, but it also applies to the first drop to the very last drop of water. So it also applies to our existing certificated rights and all of our undeveloped but permitted rights.
So let me understand. At this point, with the appeal, at the stage that it is, which we don't know when it's going to be resolved, we can take up to 38 million gallons.
We don't have a canceled permit.
So that means that we can take up to 38 million gallons.
That's my take on it.
Really?
Now, we're not going to take anywhere near that, obviously.
Because it's not needed.
It's not needed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. I think other projects to note would be pipeline projects are all progressing at more or less a schedule. And then I think the one we've talked about a little bit is the treatment plant. And as Joel mentioned, we're 3 or 4 pages in, roughly half spent, and we've adjusted the milestone dates to reflect more of where they think they're going to land in the graphic down below.
What page are you on now?
I'm sorry, yeah, it's the treatment plant, and I think the pages just says water treatment plant construction at the bottom. Yeah, I don't think the actual packet pages apply.
Okay.
Here it is.
You want to spin back? Yeah,
So
sure.
you've gone past the pipeline?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry,
Well,
Joel.
back in the pipeline. Mayor,
Schedule 5 or 1, 2,
Again, I
3?
just, I'll talk about good news when it comes.
Yeah. Don't let me.
Give us everything you can.
But,
let me spin past the good news.
As you know, contractors successfully completed the Willamette undercrossing, but now they're working on the next major trenchless work in Gladstone, which is a 600-foot long microtunnel. And so they just began that work late last week and are proceeding ahead with that. And so far, so good. They're moving along. So that's good news there. And then I'll maybe jump ahead to finished water pipelines. And I think you saw an update from Katie Colton last week where she mentioned that the last stick-up pipe on Highway 43 had been installed. So
Right.
there again, kind of good news. And we've still got work to do out there, obviously, for testing and disinfection of that pipeline and connections to our existing distribution system. And then, of course, ultimately the final restoration of the highway. But the pipeline's in the ground.
Now, what I've been telling people about the highway, because as you can imagine, they do ask a little bit about that, is that by the end of March, we will have finished the temporary patch on that.
Well, they're making about 800 feet a night of progress
Okay.
in terms of removing that bumpy temporary patch and replacing it with a permanent patch
Yeah.
that ultimately then gets milled out and overlaid with asphalt.
Okay.
So the weather, of course, is hampering that production, but I think when they started out, they thought that by the end of March, mid-April, thereabouts, they would be all the way through
Okay.
to Laurel Street.
And then I'm also told that my understanding is that the pavement will be done, and back to good pavement around end of the summer.
Yes, at the latest.
At the latest.
Okay. The end of the summer, I think, is around the 1st of September. Would you agree?
I'm going to say I'll bet they're going to be done before that.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you.
Okay.
So sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was going to say if there's any other highlights you want to point out, good news-wise, otherwise. I mean, Beluga's been roofed and doing the plumbing on the inside.
Good news front at the plant. We reported that we're actually operating some of the new processes there, specifically the solids dewatering processes. So that's where all the fine sediments and organic matter that are filtered out of the water, those that filtrate, that gets backwashed to several processes. There's a train of 3 different processes. It'll go to a thickener, and you see a picture of that in your document here. The gravity thickener, that's where it first goes, and then it goes to a solid storage holding building, and then those solids are pumped to the dewatering building, and that's where the water is taken out of those solids, and kind of a semi-dry cake is created, and that cake drops into a big dumpster, and when the dumpster gets full, a truck comes and picks it up and hauls it away. Old history, but the way that we used to do it is to put it into the lagoons and allow the lagoons to sit over the winter, and then we would decant water off the top of the lagoons, and then allow that material to solar dry to the extent that it could. And typically it wouldn't, in this climate, doesn't dry all that well. So we would use a front end loader to drive in there and scoop it out in big buckets, haul it over to one side of the plant, dump it, spread it around the dirt so it could dry some more, and then we'd pick it up again when it was all dry and put it in the dump truck and haul it away. All of that's gone away. And replaced by 2 machines that you can't even hear running. I mean, you can't hardly even tell they are running if you put your hand on it. So it's quite an advancement in technology. And our construction manager the other day commented, he goes, I don't know why all the water plants around the country aren't doing that, as opposed to centrifuges, which is the more typical approach to that, which are big pieces of equipment operating at high speeds. They're more noisy, more energy intensive, and this is just very...
What happens to the sludge that's left over?
Well, it gets hauled to a landfill. We have explored options of making it available for agricultural uses or soil amendment, but so far that's not, we haven't found that market yet.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have anything else. Beluga Bonita progressing as planned. Beluga further along. Right about wounds down the metrics report. If there's any questions, I can answer those now. I think we've hit.
When's the Beluga Reservoir going to actually be finished? When they're putting
chart.
When is it?
Yeah, 6 months.
6 more months?
Well, I think it's within a couple of months of coming online, and at that point they'll be able to drain Beluga 1 and get inside and do some inspections and determine the extent of repairs
Okay.
to that tank that are needed.
Your little chart says October of 15, so.
Yeah, that's final
That would be,
completion.
so we would have the Beluga 1 repairs completed by that date. is the
That's
idea.
everything, the buttoning up the site.
Well, when you're fixing Beluga 1, the water goes into Beluga 2, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
And then pretty soon you can use them both.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I guess the next item on here is communications.
So,
Behind you.
Jordan, you want to grab a seat up here? Why don't you go ahead and take this one here?
Howdy.
Have you all met Jordan before?
Yes, somewhere.
I was at one of these meetings a few months ago, and
That
last
must
time it was
be
in
it.
November, I believe.
He and Katie are public relations folks on the PR team.
Jordan, what's your last name?
IMLAH, I-M-L-A-H.
Thank you.
So we continue to send out our regular updates each week to neighbors and stakeholders. And as you saw with Katie's, we've been sharing our milestones as often as we can through those and through social media. We have also been in contact with the volunteers at Mary S. Young Park who are doing the improvements there. We have this report from them, if you'd like to see this. They've been working pretty much 7 days a week, getting everything going over there.
You may recall that that part of our contributions to Westland was a $90,000 payment to them to be used for restoration and enhancement in Mary S. Young Park. And that work through Dave Cruz, who's the guy that updates me periodically on their efforts. This is the most recent update from him, but they've made substantial progress and improvements in the park, not the least of which was a replacement of an asphalt pathway that was severely degraded this last construction summer. So they're getting a lot of work done for that $90,000.
What is NWYC, Northwest Youth Corps or something?
Probably, yeah. He's pretty good at leveraging all kinds of volunteer resources and,
Okay.
and groups.
Just for cookies and donuts, you can get a lot of work done.
There's
You can.
Thursdays
more
are-
mention of
yeah.
cookies and donuts than just about anything here.
There is.
Powerful.
Yes.
We've been continuing to work with Gladstone, Lake Oswego, and Tigard to have regular articles in their newsletters. Recently there was just one in the Hello LO and the Cityscape, Tigard Cityscape, about Schedule 6 and Bonita Pump Station. Keep on with social media, lots of tweets, and we're appreciative of Westland and Tigard for always helping us retweet and share our things, so getting a lot of outreach through that. We're also signed up to start tabling at farmers markets. Those are opening up soon. We're going to be in Gladstone, Lake Oswego, and Tigard for those as well. For Schedule 4, we're preparing materials to go canvassing. We're going to be out there probably in May, just before pipeline starts up. And the Cultural Resources Committee, they've concluded all their meetings, and they've decided on a piece of art that's going to be designed by the Grand Ron tribe, and that'll be in George Rogers Park. And we're going to do a dedication event for that too, and then the Grand Ron will do a big ceremony to unveil it as well. They're thinking that they might have people come in on canoes, and then they'll unveil the art. It'll be a pretty nice event. For Schedule 5, we did canvassing for A Avenue. There's been some night construction there, and then they're just about to head down to 9th. And we are in the process of updating our flyers to continue business outreach to the B Avenue businesses to make sure everything's going okay with that. We did a survey a couple months back to see if there was any ways to improve our communication, and they had a couple ideas, but they were overall very satisfied with what's been done for them, and they were appreciative that we were allowing access to the businesses and they weren't blocking off sidewalks or anything like that, and they didn't report any loss of business. For Schedule 6, we also did a lot of canvassing. We went out with Rob Murchison and just went and talked to all the businesses along Bonita, and just to find out if they had any needs and to explain the night construction that's coming up soon. A lot of the businesses were really appreciative that it was night construction because most of them work 8 to 5, so there shouldn't be any real business impacts. A few of them stayed late, but they're going to work around that. For water treatment plant, we recently gave tours to Councilor Tan and Perry from Westland. They had a tour of the water treatment plant, and then also the lineman on Mapleton Drive. They found that very informative. They've also been coming to our Burgerville meetings, and they've been asking lots of questions and helping everyone understand what's going on in Westland. And there'll also be a meet the contractor soon, the next couple of months, just before they start up pipeline construction on Mapleton Drive. We recently had a business insert promoting Highway 43 businesses. This is one of the last ones. We've done a few. This was just done in March, a couple weeks ago. Had lots of ads and promotions and coupons for the businesses along Highway 43. And then we still do the bi-monthly black and white ads in the Westland Tidings for the businesses too. We did some business outreach along Highway 43 just to see how the businesses were doing with the construction. They all had really positive things to say. They said the only real impact was the road conditions, but they also didn't have any access issues, and they thought that the ads and the other marketing things were really good pieces and really helpful. And then we went and actually spoke to Walmart over on Highway 43, and they said, we thought it was going to be really bad, but they said, surprisingly, it's been great, and then they've been handing out a lot of our shop local bags to all their customers. And recently had some media coverage. You might have seen in the LO Review, Westland Tidings, Tiger Times, there's a few stories. One about the delay of the water treatment plant, some about the water rights, and the Highway 43 road conditions. Is there any other questions?
Keep it up.
Good update.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is, or other communications? Anything else?
Unless there are any questions.
Okay, let's go on to the future agenda items.
Anything you want staff to, well, we did talk about a potential executive session, so we'll reach out to you and find a date, a location, a time for that. Other than that, are there,
Joel, we're gonna continue to want any kind of updates you can give us on the Water Watch thing, especially progress, getting the staff to take this as seriously as we'd like for them to, or anything we can do to help them on that. So anything you can do on that, and that's the big thing right now.
okay.
I second that. That's what I was going to say as well.
Good.
There's a silence about that is disconcerting to a lot of folks, and that's not a good thing. So we need to deal with that.
We'll be able to provide some detail when it's available and when we're confident in it. So again, right now we're working with the state agencies. They've got their process to go through.
And if it helps for any of us to write letters to folks that are not so much to force any kind of opinion, but to just say, make a decision, will you please, then let us know.
Right, well, we may enlist you to
Okay?
help with those communications with agency heads or governor's office or legislators.
Yeah.
We'll have to do another one of those tag team phone calls like we did with that court.
Yes,
Seemed to finally get something moving.
yeah.
It did, didn't it?
It did.
We'll find out if that was luck or if that's the kind of thing that works.
Yeah.
Anything, Mayor Cook, that
No.
you want us to address next meeting? Okay.
So our next meeting is May 15th, May 11th, I
May
see.
11th.
Okay, at our place.
But I expect we'll have a meeting before then.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay, so that'll be our regularly scheduled meeting.
okay. Anything anybody has for the good of the order?
Yep.
We have ginger snaps here.
All right, good. Thank
All
you,
right.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. We can.
Move for adjournment.
Please help yourself to their Swedish ginger snaps.
They're good, too.
Help yourself to a cookie.
Thank you.
Packed a bag of Costco chocolate chips.
Oh, shoot.
at home.
Chips?
Yeah.
Just the bag?
Just the chips, and they are so good.
Oh,
And I-
just the chip?
just the